In this screencast, we will look at how we can develop a dynamic feed-forward controller and explore whether or not perfect control will be possible. So in the diagram, we have a feedback feed-forward system for controlling the exit concentration coming out of a blending tank. So you can see that the feedback part represents really what we see on primarily the right-hand side, where the composition is being measured up coming out of the tank. It's then being sent to controller, and it's being used to adjust stream 1. However, there's a known fluctuation in stream 2. However, it's something which can't be controlled. So therefore, we send that to a feed-forward controller to note the fluctuations and do something about it. And then what it will do as well is adjust the flow rate of stream 1. So therefore, in order to begin this analysis, we'll develop transfer functions that relate the exiting concentration to W1 and X2, and the height of the fluid inside of the tank may be assumed constant. Constant height means that there's no total accumulation. This means that W1 plus W2 equals W. We know that X2 can vary, so therefore we'll take advantage of a component balance. Our component balance will deal with the accumulation term in just a second. We'll have two in terms, X1, W1. In this analysis, we'll assume X is a mass fraction, plus the second stream, X2, W2, minus XW. We'll assume that no reactions are taking place using the solute or taking away the solute. So therefore, we need to develop a relationship for the amount of mass that is inside the tank. So this can be represented simply as V, which I'll add into the system here. V represents the volume of the tank, and X, which represents the mass fraction. So thus, the total amount of mass of solute will simply be the volume V multiplied by the mass fraction, which is X, because we are assuming that the tank is well mixed. We'll assume here that V is a constant, so therefore we'll have V dx dt equals x1 w1 plus x2 w2 minus x times the combination of the two streams w1 plus w2. So the important point to note here is what variables are allowed to deviate. So therefore, obviously, x can deviate. In the problem statement, it says that x2 can deviate, and the valve is being adjusted, so therefore we know that W1 can also be adjusted. So what we note here is that we have a good number of variables present here. So we now have to put this into deviation variables, and we also have the last term which needs to be linearized. So to do all of this, we're going to use an equation which has been developed and actually has been derived in a previous screencast in order for us to handle this equation. So in this case here, we'll actually have a third variable here because we have W1, X2, and X, but the logic here follows. Therefore, what this leaves us with is V dx prime dt equals the derivative with respect to a variable. Here we'll start with W1. So we take the derivative with respect to W1, we'll have X1 minus X. And again, these will be evaluated at the bars, multiplied by W1 prime. Plus, the derivative will do x this time, so x is only in one place. So the derivative here will be negative w1 minus w2, and these will be evaluated at the bar values, multiplied by x prime. And then we'll take a look at our third variable here, which is just w2 bar, the derivative of the second term, multiplied by x2 prime. And a point to note here is that technically, since w2 in this analysis and x1 in this analysis are assumed to be constant, the bars are not absolutely necessary here, but just for simplicity's sake, we will keep them here. Now we'll take the Laplace transform of this. So therefore, the only thing of real interest here to take the Laplace transform of is the value on the left-hand side. Again, since we're in deviation variables, the f of 0 term goes to 0, so we're just left with, on the left-hand side, the derivative term becomes v, the coefficient, times x prime s, and the other terms, since they're just variables, the Laplace transform is the variable, except in the Laplace domain. We can now move the x prime term over. Again, this will now become a plus, and we'll have two separate transfer functions here. One representing how a change in x2 affects a change in x, and one showing how a change in w1 affects it. So we'll divide everything now by w1 bar plus w2 bar to get everything into tau s plus 1 form, to get into standard form. So what this leaves us with is that x prime is going to equal x1 bar minus x bar divided by w1 bar plus w2 bar. So that will be the representative of the gain. We'll divide that by v over w1 bar plus w2 bar, s plus 1, and this will be w1 prime plus w2 bar over w1 bar plus w2 bar divided by the same denominator as we had before. Could we represent w1 bar plus w2 bar as the steady state total flow rate? Yes, we could, but here we'll just keep it. As a note, what we'll now do for simplicity's sake is we will recast the two terms in the numerator for w1 and x2. We'll recast as the gains k1 and k2. And both denominators have the same time constant, so therefore that will just be tau. So part B was asking us to develop a dynamic feed-forward controller and to determine if perfect control was possible. And it was given that all transfer functions for valves and sensor transmitters equaled 1. So in order to get perfect control, remember that what perfect control represents is a disturbance has no influence on the controlled variable. So you can assess perfect control using block diagram analysis, which has been done in a separate screencast. We're not going to discuss that here, but what we know is that the transfer function for perfect control for a feed-forward controller can be defined as negative GD over GT GV GP. So GD represents how the output variable is influenced by a change in the disturbance variable. GT is the transfer function for the sensor transmitter of the disturbance variable. GV is the transfer function for the valve. And GP is the process transfer function for the relationship between the output variable and the manipulated variable. So if we try to match these with what we've seen so far is GT and GV in the problem statement are explicitly stated that they're equal to 1. If I look at the equation I've just developed, I've found the transfer function that relates how the output, which is in this case x, the exiting concentration, is influenced by a disturbance. In this case, the disturbance is the concentration of the wild stream. So if we see how that we recast these, we'll show that this transfer function is just negative k2 over tau s plus 1. And similarly, how the manipulated variable, in our case, the manipulated variable is the one with the valve on it. And you will recall that represented the stream W1, as we can see in the diagram here. So therefore, that transfer function we also obtained from doing the mass balance. And this will just be K1 over tau s plus 1. So in our case here, the tau s plus 1's cancel. And we're left with a feed-forward controller, which is just a gain here, is a 0th order transfer function of negative k2 over k1. So based on our analysis, since k2 and k1 are both positive values, what this means is that here perfect control is feasible. Why? Because this transfer function is feasible. And the two major issues here that we would want to check on are positive roots in the denominator. Those are bad. We don't have an issue with that here because there are no powers of s. And the second is that the order of s in the numerator must be less than or equal to the order of s in the denominator. And in this case, the order is both 0. So therefore, this feed-forward controller is perfectly valid, and perfect control is possible, assuming that we had perfect models describing the 4 transfer functions. This could become a little more complicated depending on if the valve has dynamics, the sensor transmitter has dynamics, or if the time constants for the disturbance transfer function, the process transfer function are different. And again, in order to dictate whether or not perfect control could be made here, we would again have to look at the tool rules provided here. So in this screencast, we used material balances to lead us in finding the dynamic feed-forward controller that could be used for this tank system or for its system in general, and also to determine whether or not perfect control was feasible.